In this video, we will go over assignment 6. So here I have on my screen the item class and the item class. You can see here we've got our instance variables. Notice that competitor prices is an array of doubles. We have this static variable which keeps track of the number of items. We have our constructor here. Notice that the constructor just initializes the array, but doesn't actually do anything, doesn't set any values in here. We have our getters, and we'll notice that the get competitor prices method forces you to make a copy of the array. Okay, so remember, in order to not violate information hiding, whenever you have arrays as instance variables, you have to make a copy of the array before you return it or before you set it. So we have this make copy function in here that is down further below in the class that we'll get to in just a second. But the rest of the getters are basically normal. So here is the make copy array. All this basically does is, oh geez, scrolling. Okay, so all this basically does is it accepts an array, it creates a new one that's the same size, and then copies all of the elements one by one into the new array, and then returns the new array. So in other words, it's doing exactly what it says it's doing. It's making a copy of that array. So anytime we deal with the competitor's array, we need to make a copy, since it's in order to not violate information hiding. Okay. And so you'll see later on in the setter, there's also a call to make copy. Okay. So there's the setter for set name. That's pretty standard. I guess the exception is it calls this isValidName function to check to make sure that the name is, a certain number of characters. So we'll get to that one in a second. Set price is pretty standard. Set competitor prices is standard, except that because, again, it's an array as an instance variable, we have to make a copy of the array before we set it. So that's what's going on right here. We're using that make copy function again. And then our name validation, we see right here. We're checking to make sure that the name is larger, or is 3 characters or larger, and we're making sure that all of the characters are letters. Okay, so that's what's going on here. And then we have a toString function, which just prints out information about the particular item. So we have, notice that one of the things that we have in here is a loop. We loop through the competitor prices and append those onto the string. And then we have this subtotal method. So basically all this subtotal does is it tells you what you're actually going to pay. So the subtotal, it says here in the comment, it's the lowest price of either the item price and all 3 competitor prices. So we initially set lowest equal to whatever the price is, and then we loop through the competitor arrays and see if any of those are lower. So that's all that subtotal does. We're actually going to override this subtotal method in the warranty subclass, but we'll see that in a second. And then the savings, this will tell you for a particular item what the savings are. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to create this variable lowest and set it equal to the first value in the competitor prices array. Then we're going to loop through any of the other values in the competitor prices array. So that's why we start at 1 here. And we're going to see if any of those are lower. So in other words, this block of code right here is just checking to see what the lowest competitor price is. Okay? And then we calculate the amount saved based on whatever the lowest competitor price is minus our price. And if that number ends up being negative, so in other words, if the competitor ended up having a lower price than what we have, then we didn't save any money. Okay, so that's what this check right here is for. Okay, and finally, there was one other. Okay, there's this decrement num items that's static. So this is if we delete something from our items array, then we need a way to reduce that static variable by 1. So that's what that is. We had this in a previous assignment. So now if we go over to the warranty subclass, we will see warranty extends item. So that indicates that warranty is a subclass. We have this instance variable duration. And then this is just the thing that we use to calculate how much the warranty costs. So it's $4 times whatever the duration is in months. So then we have a constructor here. We make a call to the superclass. So this is just calling items constructor, specifically passing in name and price. And then we have a call to set duration. So get duration is a normal getter. Set duration is a pretty standard setter. Notice the check in here to make sure that it has to be either 12, 24, or 36. Then we have a compute warranty cost, which just computes, again, it's $4 times however long it is. And now we have overridden subtotal. So what we do is we calculate the lowest price. So we did all of that logic in the item superclass. So we just make a call to that super.subtotal. And then we just add on this compute warranty cost, because that's really the only difference, is there's this additional warranty cost. And then we have the toString. Oops. ToString has a call to the, again, to the superclass's toString. So item does all of the work of getting the name and the competitor prices and all that kind of stuff. So we use that, and then we just add in also the warranty at the end. So that's basically all there is in the warranty class. And then in the implementation class, again, I'm not going to beat this to death because a lot of stuff is a repeat from our last assignments. But you'll see this is the same basic structure where we set up this array. I'm calling it shopping cart. Okay, it's got 50 items in there. We have this main, this loop that continuously shows us the main menu. This main menu function is exactly the same as in the last assignment. The only thing that's different is the text here. And we see here all of the different things that we can do. We can create item, remove item, print cart subtotal, print savings. Okay, and so in the create item, first thing that we do is we do some checks to make sure that they haven't exceeded the maximum number of items in the cart. Then we get the name of the item from the user. We get the price from the user. One of the things that we have to do when we get the price is we have to make sure that that price added to whatever's already in the cart doesn't exceed $1,500. So that's what this get cart subtotal method is. And so we'll get down to get cart subtotal in a second. But the purpose of this is to just check to make sure that the amount in the cart isn't larger. So this get cart subtotal prints out the total amount in the cart. And then if that amount plus the price that we just got from the user is greater than the 1,500, then we throw an exception. So we got the name, we got the price. Okay, we have a separate function for gathering the competitor prices, since this is an array here. So we'll get down to that one in a second. We ask the user whether or not this item is a warranty item. Okay, and so now here's where, once we collect, if it is, then we go ahead and collect that. Oh, really having problems scrolling here. Okay, we go ahead and collect the warranty information, if it has a warranty. Okay, and now we have to decide which kind of item we want to make. So we start off with this generic item, and then if it has a warranty, then we create a new warranty object and set it and put it in here to new item. And if it doesn't have a warranty, then we just create a standard item. Okay, so this right here is kind of like the crux of the assignment. Okay, and then we call the setter for competitor prices. We haven't gotten down to where we gather the competitor prices, but it's again pretty standard. So, and then we take that newly created item and we stick it into the proper spot into the array. So again, similar to previous assignments. So this is the gather competitor prices. There's not actually really anything all that interesting in here. We just know that this results as an array, and so we set it up to be an array of size 3, and then for each item in the array, we do this same Boolean do try thing where we collect the input from the user and we don't proceed to the next item in the array until the user has entered in a valid price. So that's all that's happening here. The remove item is very, very similar to the remove item in the last homework assignment. We're printing out a list of all of the things in the shopping cart. We're telling the user to select one of them, and then we basically shift the arrays. So this is the array shifting right here. And then we reduce the static count of items by 1. Okay, and this, again, is exactly the same as the last homework assignment. This is just printing out a list of all of the items in the cart. So we're just looping through, and we're printing out an integer, so item number 1, item number 2, etc. And then we're doing a call to the toString method implicitly of whatever is in the array. So in this case, it's it could be a warranty, it could be an item. And then the print cart subtotal method, basically, we check to make sure that there's actually items in the cart to print. And then if so, we say, here are the number of items. Here's the total amount. Again, we use that get cart subtotal method from before. And then we print the get numbered list of items, as pointed out earlier, prints out a list of everything in the cart. So we can just use that, and then we show the dialog. So get cart subtotal, all it does is it just loops through everything in the cart, and it calls the subtotal method. Remember, we created 2 versions of that. We created a normal subtotal method in the item class, and then we overrode it and created a subtotal method in the warranty class. And so then for printing the savings, we loop through the cart. We calculate the savings based on that savings method that we defined in the item class. And we print out that information. So that's basically all there is in this assignment. I will actually post the code out on the course website in the course content area. So if you have any questions about what's going on, I would say the first thing you ought to do is you ought to go download the code, pull it into your JGrasp, and start messing with it. Start trying to run it, start trying to change things, turn on the debugger, step through some stuff, and make sure that you understand exactly what's going on here. I know I kind of ran through it pretty quickly, but all of the code is there for you to peruse, and if you have any questions, go ahead and post those in the discussion forums.